Take a moment to be aware of your surrounding. Feel the energy of the space, the temperature, lighting, different sounds. Now take a few deep breaths. Breathe in deeply and breathe out softly. With each breath, allow your body to relax and allow your mind to calm. Settle into your posture. Quickly scan through your body from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Notice how you feel this evening, physically and mentally. With that deep awareness about ourselves, let's practice loving kindness a few minutes. As always, let's begin with ourselves, thinking thus: may I be healthy, may I be content, and may I be peaceful. May I be healthy, may I be content, and may I be peaceful. May I be healthy. May I be content. And may I be peaceful. Now let's share these loving, kind, and positive thoughts with all living beings, humans, non-humans, all the creatures. May they also be healthy, be content, and be peaceful. May all living beings free from anger, fear, anxiety, stresses, may they all find peace and comfort. Now gently bring your attention to your breath. And try to maintain your focus between your nostrils and upper lip. And as you inhale and exhale, be mindful of each breath. Breathe in mindfully, breathe out mindfully. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. As you keep your eyes closed, please bring your palms together closer to your heart. And then please listen to this brief chanting while you are listening to these beautiful words that have been chanted for many, many years, even within this space. And allow it to create a positive vibration in your heart. Bring all the positive things that you have accomplished, done in your life, and allow all those positive thoughts, vibrations to become a healing energy within your heart. And through the power of all these powerful thoughts, blessings, vibrations, healing energy, may no harm come to you, may no difficulties come to you, may you always find peace and joy. Abhivadana silissa Niccang vaddapacayino Cattaro dhamma vaddanti Ayuvanno sukhang balang Ayurarogya sampatti Sangha sampatti me vaca Ato nibbana sampatti Iminate samicchatu. May peace be with you, may you be healthy, may you be content, and may you be peaceful. Thank you very much. You may open eyes. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's good to be here. Usually, I think we do this every third Wednesday. So today I happen to be in town. So we're going to do it in person, question and answers. And if you have any questions, I would happy to answer if I know the answer. And then we can have a little bit of a discussion. That's a good question, but I did not know the expression straight jacket. What's that mean? Oh, so it's a thing that you use? I never seen it. Is it a thing? Oh, I thought it was expression. Okay. Yeah, probably in the past. Um, yeah. So if you ask my personal experience, yes. Um, Unfortunately, mental health is really stigmatized, and it's really very few percentage in the world recognize the importance of mental health, even though for the longest time heart diseases, strokes, and these things used to be the higher on the list that people get sick, but depression, anxiety, and those things are a few top of the line things, and World Health Organization predict that this is going to be the most debilitating illness all around the world, not in America, and it's going to be all around the world. So why I said that is because when it's come to psychosis and psychotic features, people who tend to have psychotic breakdowns, it can happen to anyone. So, and in that regards, how intricate our brain is, it can happen to anybody, any given moment. These are drug-induced, these are anxiety-induced, depression-induced. It can happen with any moment. And a lot of people that I saw due to COVID, and people were freaked out. That freaking out thought process, it's a lot, created some people paranoia. And they didn't know how to handle their emotions, because emotions are not really when emotions are very strong, and when they are strong, we kind of act on those things because this is how our brain works. But they are not very reliable, and it can really drives us to be in really in negative, it can have very negative consequences in life. And so we can all go into those psychotic episodes, modes. And I've seen lawyers, doctors, that comes through my doors, and I even seen doctors who worked on the unit actually having episodes and come to the doors. Not prior things, but it's the amount of stress. You know, sometimes you don't realize, like someone like a medical doctor to go through the medical school, and that's a lot of debt, a lot of dedication. And then when they come out of residency, that's 4 years and under $60,000 getting paid. And on top of that, the mounting amount of student loan debt and the interest, 7%, 6%, that's a lot. And I met somebody who pays $60,000 a semester to go to medical school. So imagine that amount of debt when they come out of school. And so we don't see the bigger picture when we see someone and we think, oh, this person is completely psychotic, but we don't recognize why somebody become that. And yes, so I have gotten beaten, and I had to, deal with so many occasions. Not only the physical abuse, the mental abuse is the biggest thing in mental health field. People, unfortunately, living in the world that they feel like because of the right to speech, they can just say whatever they want to say. And so that abuse can be really difficult, and things that they, say. And we are living in a lot of uncertainties in the world, and people have so many perceptions about people. The color, the skin color, the names. And if I'm not a James, if I don't have a name like a Western kind of a name, that could be a trigger. Someone who not very stable and who has, listening to the same things on the media. And these things really make people paranoid. And so I have had situations like, especially due to COVID, and situations like in politically motivated fear, anger, how that turn into certain people to psychotic episodes. And when they come, some people like me become a very easy target. And so to answer your question, yes. So I have seen that, and I work in a crisis center, which is the hospitals and considers as actually crisis centers. And so we get them stabilized. And that firsthand, mindfulness is not working. So they need medications. They need to sleep. Some of these people have not slept for 7 days, 14 days. Some people have only slept 2 hours a day, few months. And so the brain doesn't get enough rest. And so I can just sit there, and I'm just talking about this as a purpose of education. So to sort of, you will kind of, as you walking out today, have back of your mind that I could be that person, rather than you're judging someone or thinking about that I am all sane, thinking about recognizing we all can we are very fragile, and it can happen to us. And so, they need that sleep, rest. And so we have to get them medications right away. And then it takes couple of days. And some people are not willing to take pills. If that's the case, then there are a lot of legals involved with mental health, and they will get some, injections. And when they come to senses, then you can have a conversation. So I think we use the word psychotics, psycho, crazy people very lightly. But I think one of the things about in Buddha's teachings is to really to see that whole thing in a very, with empathy, to understand why that happens, and why they are there, and how they got there. And that's for me the biggest lesson. And to be there, and I can just, judge and be angry, be mad, and when they say things that I can, just put my monk hat on, just, do my thing. But it's a constant reminder for me to why I practice, and what it means to be kind, and what it means to be mindful. And when I have that, I have been able to manage it, very well. And people receive you. I have had really negative experiences, but as the time goes by, as they recover, and they become totally if you call me normal, they become like normal, They apologize, and they say that they are sorry, and they're very kind. They say, yes, please, thank you, sorry. So, it's a very enlightening experience for me. So I love it. Sorry, long answer. I'm supposed to only keep it to 5 minutes, I think. Yes?
Can you elaborate further about mental abuse, per se?
Um, so the that's something that really disheartening for me, especially in the when a patient come through to listen to some of the stories and how that abuse has taken place in some people's lives, and it's a big part of people growth and development, and that affects in their every aspect in their lives, and it follows them. And I actually didn't realize the significance of that until I really came to the States, and I had, a little bit of exposure to psychology, and how my perception, my view change on certain things. Because when you know a certain way of life, you think that that's probably how it is, And I remember I had a friend that she was a social worker. She worked for a sheriff office, and one day she got a call, and she went to this house, and there were 3 kids living in this very small house, and they were not going to school, and these kids were taught that they are living in a mansion, and they were taught that this is the best place that they can ever imagine, and that they are safe. And when she went in there, and they were filthy, malnourished, and they were mentally abused. And in a sense where that the way that they look at the world has changed. And so they thought that within the 4 walls that they live in, it was a mansion. And they were these kids were keep saying, our house is bigger, because that's what they were taught. And so the mental abuse has really very negative consequences in life. And a lot of people that I see day to day have had some sort of mental abuse. And so it's a really a sad reality. And some people, it's a generational, and they have really not opened to it. They have not learned my way of doing things is not the best way to do it, because this is what I've taught. And this happened to me. And if you ask Bhante Asaji that I was a tyrant teacher, and he will say that. But why? Because this is what I saw. I was taught to be tough. And this is what I learned. And so sometimes it's there is a missing that education part. There is some links missing, and so I don't know who to blame, but that has a very negative effect on lives. So in the light of Buddhist perspective, Buddhism is always, for me, is a path where that always teaches us to always develop kindness and wisdom together. Not just wisdom alone, not just kindness alone. And that's a big lesson for me, because that's where we need to link our thinking. And people who are always rational, very green personalities tend to be very harsh towards certain things. And so For me, there is a valuable lesson as far as personality development and as far as the to develop self-fulfillment. I think there is a huge lesson for me. And so that's one of the things that really I'm intrigued in Buddha's teachings, that every time when he talks about wisdom, he always addresses kindness. And so when we have those pieces together, and I think that it's a lot easier to show someone the path, and it's a lot easier to, because kindness allows you to listen to someone. And for me, that's what it is. And being in a psychiatric, and in the morning when I start my shifts, it's a 12-hour shifts. So my medication pass, I take the longest. I'm not bragging about it because I'm proud of what I'm doing, because I take time to listen to people. And that kindness to me. And when I listen to them, they start their story. And when I feel like that they can change their way of thinking, then I do not advise, but I use the open communication to really look for answers, find solutions. And sometimes I don't have solutions, but suggest certain things and provide certain education. And I get the social workers involved with that. And that whole thing is where that I find that wisdom part comes into play. And I can listen and be there and be supportive in the same time. And I can provide as much as education possible. And for me, that's that love, that kindness and the wisdom part. And in Buddha's teachings, Pali words is called Panya and Karuna. And so, and I think if we, as humans, as a society, and if we can really dive into that and understand these two links, and I think we can really come out of it. Because the other thing is that if you're someone who have a history of abuse, and a lot of time what happened for these people is that they have not gotten through therapy or way to deal with it, cope with it, and they hide it, and they have learned ways to go around it and cope with when things arise. And these were not always been positive, and they have not positively dealt with those things. And in life, what I see that it comes to a point that they can't handle that anymore. And when that happens, their support system fails. People as a society, we fail. And this is what I see a lot in mental health. A lot of people who have these type of situations, actually, they are mostly homeless, unfortunately. The reality of this issue is actually they become homeless. And it's a very sad thing. And at the end of the year, the government, the state says, we spend this much money on mental health. For what? Nothing. They didn't fix anything. They think that giving a pill fix everything. It really doesn't. And Medicare, Medicaid, I want to be an advocate for this, and they are trying to get rid of actually paying for therapy. And it's a bad move to do, because people think that we are becoming a society more and more that quick fixes. A pill can fix everything. But that's not how it works. And so for me, being there with my patients, whoever I take care of that day, and being there listening to them and being able to kind to them and providing that education, really important. And I think what I do is Buddhism in action. And so it's the way for us to heal, and it's the way for us to, as a community, to heal. And that's why in in Buddhist teachings that community is such an important concept. We call it Sangha. And when we address the idea of Sangha is that we have a support system. And in a support system, in a Sangha, there are so many different personalities. And when we call Sangha, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika. So this is monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen. So everybody included in it. And it's not just monks, it's not just the lay people. And everybody included, and we heal as a community. And in Buddha's time, when they went into retreats, and this is really an important thing because we live in a world that, technology is becoming really advanced, and COVID we really saw, we implemented Zoom and this and that to really, to get education and all this stuff, but there was a lot of social isolation. And also with new technology, with phones, gaming and computers and all these things, that we spend most of the time in isolation with ourselves, with a device. And we really don't communicate with each other. We don't look at each other. We don't look at eyes. So there is this disconnection. And so one of the beautiful things about in Buddha's teachings, you will see if you get into sutra classes and like that he always sent these monks in groups, like 200 monks, 500 monks that went into retreats, because there is that support system. It's really, really important. And when we have that support system, we can heal as a society, community. And there are a lot of ways that Buddha has shown that how can we heal as individuals when we work together as a community. And developing kindness, wisdom, where is that, basically the cognitive behavioral therapy. And there are so many implications when we are part of a community. Interpersonal relationships is such an important thing for us to work as a community. And so when we are in a community, we recognize that, I have these issues, and so I can express my concerns, my fear, my anger, anxiety, and it provides us a safe place. And so no one is judgmental. And so for me, I try to provide that at work as a psychiatric nurse, but what I can do is limited. But I think if each of you are in this room really motivated to do that, when somebody going through a difficult time, taking time to really to listen to that person, and because you really don't know what's happening. For example, I'll tell you what happened today. So I talked to a friend of mine and said that her daughter is pregnant, I think a teenager, and she doesn't want to keep the baby. And rules or regulations are changing with abortions and everything. I don't want to go into politics, but she is disheartened by her daughter's decision. And then when I was talking to her, walking through it, being a noble friend, I was listening. This happened today. And then all of a sudden she said, this is really difficult for me because my mom, when I was pregnant, she wanted to abort me. But she went to the doctor, but she changed her mind, ran away, and I heard this story and this is what's happening right now, triggering me. And then later on, some other incident happened, and I knew who that happened with, and when that person reached out to this person who is going through everything in life with this crisis, and she had no idea, and she just blab everything she wants to say, and I was involved with this conversation that happened, and she was having a really difficult time. So what I was thinking is, the person who was saying all those things to the other person had taken time to say, hey, this is not what I meant when I said that, and can we just take a breathe? And because the other person have no idea what the person is going through right now. And it could be you, it could be your friend, it could be somebody see on the street. And, it's really important. And so this is where that kindness, awareness come to play. And so this is why our practice is so crucial. And we think that mindfulness practice is supposed to enlighten us. That's what the enlightenment is about, like being able to listen to someone non-judgmentally. And if somebody is upset, and to ask that, why you upset? And one of the neat things that I notice when I'm doing my clinical rotations right now to become psychiatric NP, and I'm being precepted by this 73-year-old psychiatrist, and it's really touched me every time when a patient shares a concern. She says, thank you for telling me that. And I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. And it's really amazing when somebody says that, I observe them, and how that provides them comfort. So, as people, we can heal each other. Because we all have wounds, we all been hurt, and we all have things that had happened in the past. But unfortunately, we hide these things. We try to keep them, underneath. But there is a time comes in life that these thing comes up, and for like that lady. And what happened to her, it wasn't even, she was really, there are things that had happened to her after that. But that it really didn't trigger her until the situation that arose with her daughter. And it was still there. It was a concern. But, so, these things, we all have that. And it comes up time to time. And, sorry, I think I'm going off of the topic, but for me, that kindness and wisdom, which is, I always link these two to mindfulness, is the wisdom part. And that's where that we learn these coping skills through so many different things, whether it's mindfulness, talking, all these things, reading, listening, whatever you do. And then the kindness, really having that, developing that non-judgmental, really a genuine kindness, compassion, really help, I think, get through those things. Yes, Nancy.
I think that we all know listening is so important, but it's almost a natural reflex if somebody is sharing a problem to just try to solve it and suggest what to do, when really, like you said, you just listen and thank them for trusting you, to listen to them. And sometimes it's
Right.
to be seen, to be heard, and then hopefully that can help them, reach a conclusion. The other thing is, I think social media and these kids that are isolating themselves and watching, people on social media thinking they are missing out,
Mm-hmm.
or not good enough, or never be successful. I just think we've got a huge crisis. And, there's studies coming out every single day.
Right.
The age that kids should get a phone. But there's already studies that it is damaging their brains. And they see other things going on, and they just think, well, I'm never going to be good enough like them. But they don't even know those kids are not really. They're not really. Anyway, I'm just really concerned. I think that's one of our biggest problems in this country. Too much time in
Right.
isolation, watching all the social media.
Yeah, I think everybody should be concerned, and then we should play our role in it. And that I was discussing today with someone actually outside, standing. I know things are changing, and we are expecting like a miracle or someone to come and change the rules, and that's probably not gonna happen. But if I can really, at work for me, that's where I am best at. And if I can be effective, and if I can inspire someone that come to my life for that day to get help, and if I can somehow be there and be an inspiration to that person and say that, there is hope. And if we all can find a way to do that, and I think we can really have a ripple effect on the society. And there is no I don't think they are going to be a savior. And people, we think politicians going to solve this, regulations going to change this. I think it's just that as a society we have to change the way we do things, and how we manage our responsibilities, and how can I be most effective. And I think that will really make a difference in someone else's life. And so I think we shouldn't be, what's the word, complacent. We should discuss. We should have an open forum about it. And that's why in Buddhist teachings, it's so crucial, so important, because he says the manopubbangama dhamma, that mind is the forerunner of everything. And so this was 2,500 years ago. And it's the same thing today, right? And he didn't study the brain, he didn't study the dopamine, serotonin, nothing. He said there is a mind that you can work with it. And how can we, flourish our mind, and how can we nourish it, and how can we protect it? And then what we are learning, and how can we share that with others and whoever come into contact with. And I think that's going to make a difference in we get caught up in the moment, things happens, but I always remind people, every time you have to call customer service, your bank card somebody stole, took money from it, and you're calling someone and you're all pissed off and you say the nastiest things. But do we ever think how many people are probably calling that person and saying the same thing I'm saying? I mean, just for a minute, like, you can probably make a change by saying, hey, thank you so much for helping me today. Can you please help me? And I'm sure you're dealing with those things a lot. And in fact, actually, I saw a patient who were working for one of those Bank of America fraud claims, and she was so angry, and her anger, her frustrations, and I was thinking, like, how many people, like, probably calling her, abusing her. That's mental abuse for her. And I know it's heat of the moment we say things. And that's why I think that kindness, awareness, mindfulness, and we can take this to our day-to-day life, and we can be, if you're a teacher, how you can manage that. And if you're at a teacher's conference or a parent conference, and how, when there is something that negative going on, how can you navigate through it? And like, when somebody says something that negative, our first reaction is, rather than figuring out why that person is upset, we just raise our voice, and we very quickly react. And so it's really difficult to heal as a society like that, because I think it's important to understand why I am upset and why they're upset. And sometimes one of the funniest things is actually when people come to like psychiatric hospitals, it's just amazing, like how ice water can help people. Sometimes it's just like, I would just listen to sometimes like verbal abuse. I listen, and then at the end of it, and I say, I can see that you're really upset. We have so many things to drink. Apple juice, orange juice, cranberry juice, anything sounds good to you. And, they just basically say, yeah, I'll have this. And when you bring it back, they say, thank you. It's like nothing happened. It's amazing. And so, and I think, we have a powerful tool, and I think, this space is, use it, and, for that personal growth and development. And then always take that home and apply it with your kids, apply it with your boyfriend, your, relationship on the road, and especially on the road. And if you're someone who will listen to news, and, while you're listening to news, and how many times you just like to listen to somebody who always have conspiracy theory, but you still listening and bickering about it. You have the choice to turn it off or just listen to it non-judgmentally. It's part of our practice. Because your anger really is not going to change the person, how that person is going to just behave. And so this practice can help you guide through difficult times. And I think that's where you're going to find your mental strength. That wouldn't lead you to where that people get this paranoid idea, and it wouldn't lead you to higher anxiety, and which going to have really negative effect on your body, and then it's going to affect your other things. It's affect your high blood pressure, and your depression and anxiety affect the whole body, and then stresses affect your glucose level in the body, and at the end, next thing you know is that you are physically ill, because we don't see the whole picture. And so I think, we can do a lot on ourselves. And so that's why it's really important to understand when Buddha said that you are your own savior. And there is a deeper meaning to that, because at the end of the day, your mental health really depends on your actions, your choices. And the whole thing fits into the idea of karma. I hope you learned something today, and I know it's supposed to be a discussion, but I talked the whole time. But anyway, and I hope that I'm really passionate about this, as you can see. Mental health is just so crucially important to me, that's because that's my profession. And monk, my path has helped me. And I am a nurse by career, but I am a monk in the heart. And so those two really has helped me to guide through this path. And I think we all can implement this practice to improve ourselves. And when we really see that improvement with ourselves, that really, as we go and do our jobs, because that's where we live, and you can be more effective as a teacher, volunteer, whatever your duty is, on the road, if you are a bus driver, whatever you're doing. And there is always an opportunity to be kind. There is always an opportunity to help someone with your words, your actions. And I hope you will keep that in mind. Thank you for listening. Thank you.